do it live. We are, well, we are live. Or it's processing until go live.
Nice.
If you guys want to check out the stream, just make sure everything's on the up and up. I'm going to adjust the light. Waiting for the stream here.
Seems like everything's on the up and up.
Is this stream on? Excellent. Let me get this. Let me get this out to people, and then we'll start our little discussion here. Everything seem good, sound good. Well, let's see here. It's running a little funky on my end, but I think we are, for the most part, we are a go here. Definitely sick. Definitely sick.
There's no way. There's no way you're not.
Don't speak it into existence. Let me be well.
It's already happening.
It's just I'm having a bad lung day. Everyone has
No.
bad.
That's not a thing.
No. Do you have chronic illness of some sort?
Yes.
Related to your lungs?
I don't know.
You should probably find that out.
Who has time for hospitals and
You, as the sick
You?
person.
no.
You don't have time.
No. There's too many things to do.
Outside of golf, what are you doing tomorrow?
I have a class I have to teach.
Probably shouldn't be teaching if you're sick.
That's for sure. Shouldn't be talking to anyone.
Gotta spread the love.
I don't feel sick.
It doesn't mean you're not sick. That's not how illness necessarily works.
Well, dang. Okay. I'll go to urgent care in the morning, and if they say that I'm sick, I won't go teach anybody anything.
That would be a responsible thing to do.
Hallelujah.
Well, we're going to get this road on the show here. So welcome, nerds. We are doing a roundtable here of our year-long stream of Baldur's Gate. Um, it took us about 38 episodes to get through. The main point of this storylines and a few side stories here. But we managed to do it almost a year exactly. I don't know if we talked about that part on stream, but I know at least if we didn't, it was shortly after our last stream that we found out that it was exactly 365 days that it took us to get from the first episode to the last episode of our adventure there. So the plan is that we're just going to basically discuss what we did in the game, things we liked, things we didn't like, things we are sad we missed. So I guess my first question for everyone, if you had an idea on what you wanted to happen in the game, at least as far as your character is concerned, did that happen for you?
Not even a little bit. I think I should start off here. I think I was denied the biggest pleasure of all, which was we didn't do the whole Shadowheart romance story because we went through the trial without her, and finishing the trial causes you to not obtain a further game playability with Shadowheart. So it was rough. I did not get to romance the character I was romancing.
Oh, I big time second that. Somebody had to tell the vampire hunter about Asterion, so I'm stuck with Poopy Gale. You know who likes Gale? Not me.
I would like to point out that mine happened much later and was much less controllable than what happened to yours.
I knew it would happen. I didn't want to spoil it.
Spoil it. You just didn't want me to cry on stream. That's what you didn't want me to do. I had a good long tear after the end of that stream.
Oh, a long tear.
Just one.
I think I went through the hardest thing personally, because we had to side with the Githyanki Hitler. We could not keep our loved one, the Emperor, with us, and I could not ride off into the sunset with him.
That's fair.
I was robbed of this, and it hurts. I wake up sometimes in a cold sweat thinking about him
Oh boy.
and the tentacles.
For me personally, I also didn't get the romance. Besides the romance part, which I'll get to here in a second, when I was playing the character, I like envisioned me like if I was to role play the character. And initially, I didn't actually know what I wanted my character to kind of be like. And as the player playing the game, I definitely wanted Minthara at least in the party, if not romancing her. And then that obviously didn't happen, figuring that out about halfway through Act 2. And then I think I just dropped the whole romancing or NPC care at all. And I was just like, how can I make my character the most like disgustingly powered character, at least within our group? Maybe not, I didn't obviously like try to power game my character out or anything like that. But I was definitely like trying to get as many of the scrolls as I could and just keep as many spell slots as I could and just try to help in any of the fights as much as I could, which I like to think I did a decent job at least.
For sure.
I will say I do feel that some of us could have carried our weight a little better. Some of us went down a lot. I'm not gonna blame any, not point any fingers, but there was this one party member who said they were gonna keep people up, and I feel like that didn't happen. Someone definitely went down a lot, but again, no pointing fingers. We made it through. It was all fine in the end.
Yes. How about so speaking on things that we missed or we thought we were going to do, how about for those of us that have played the game, because I know, Mason, you haven't really, I don't know if you've played much on the side, but I know the rest of us have kind of played a little bit more or on our own. So if you know what would be a quest or like a small storyline other than maybe the romances, obviously, that we didn't get to do?
Ooh. I was a little bit sad that we chose to take the Underdark to get to Act 2 because taking the high road of the mountain um it leads you to like a Githyanki creche, and it's so cool. I feel like the content alone is really fun, and there's like a whole horde of like displacer beasts, and it was that was really cool when I played solo. So even though it was cool to like go see the mushroom people, which isn't something that I had done before, I I don't know, fighting all the Githyanki and discovering all their secrets and even looting that place, it was really good.
The loot there's crazy. The worst part is knowing after the fact that you can actually just do both, but not knowing where that cutoff was beforehand. That part hurt.
Yeah, I can't say that there's too much that I know that we missed. I am playing the game again now that we finished ours. So I started before, and I made it to about where you see the first owl bear, and then you told me we were gonna do this thing, and um, I jumped in on that and just kind of suspended my own playthrough. But now I'm getting back to that, and I think I'm just gonna do the stuff we didn't do. So I'm hoping to see all that stuff. So like the crash that Faith just talked about, and maybe trying to do both of the things as Justin just mentioned. I'm definitely gonna kill Auntie Ethel again, though. I did find that super enjoyable.
It was a fun fight.
For sure.
Or maybe I suppose we didn't kill her, but
Yeah, so I also haven't played much outside of our playthrough. I have played a little bit, but I just know things uh, about the game. I would say we did pretty much everything in Act 1. There is a part of me that wants to play the evil playthrough and just like go to the Druid's Grove and just slaughter. Um, Other than that, seeing some of um, I mean, I guess it goes back to not just Minthara, but some of the other NPCs that we didn't necessarily get uh, to see or get along. Particularly Minsk. It would have been cool to see him just because of his popularity. Just because he's like everyone basically knows who Minsk is. Also, the voice acting of Matt Mercer. I don't know if I've actually seen Matt Mercer actually voice act in anything other than the Critical Role TV show. So that would have been cool just to experience that part of the game. Um, and then basically, I would say a lot of Baldur's Gate. So for personal reasons, we kind of scooted through a lot of the side quests in Baldur's Gate. Whereas in like Act 1, we took our time, and then in Act 2, I would say we did a decent job of kind of going around, but it's felt like we could have gone in Act 2 for almost ever, where it was just like every nook and cranny there was something to do. I mean, there was a kid ghost talking about his family. It was like felt like that scenario was just like everywhere. We were just doing these nonsensical things for no reason, which is part of the game. Obviously, it's the exploration part. Um, but it felt like in Act 3 that it was literally endless. Like there was just nonstop things to do, and eventually we just had to at some point say we're just gonna, full throttle it on the main story and the main quests that were there. So it was a little sad to miss out on some of those last things there.
yeah. I just thought about this now that you brought up the Act 3 thing. I'm still a little upset that we never finished finding all 7 parts of that clown guy. I can't think of his name right now, but that's definitely
Yeah.
something I wanted to do, and we never found. We found like 2 or 3 parts, but we didn't find the full clown. Dribbles, that's what. Yeah, Dribbles.
Dribbles the clown. Dribbles the clown. Well, and that felt like one of those quests where it was like, this quest could take us forever. Like it was like a passive quest where it was just like the more you explore, the more you're gonna get rewarded for finding the pieces. And we could have literally spent like sessions, episodes, and hours of of our lives of the game, just trying to find out those little things. But I mean, when you're on your own playthrough, you can just kind of dabble in whatever and kind of walk around. Your characters. Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. Yeah. No, that's actually I was gonna say something I also wanted to touch on was missing like with our characters and like building them and like I don't know if you guys had any regrets about how you built your characters, if there was something you'd want to change with like playing through it and all, but I know going in like in my mind, I started off I wanted to be like the paladin. I really wanted to tank it up. I wanted to swing. I wanted to hit hard. I wanted to like kind of shut my brain off when it came to thinking during combat. And then that just didn't happen with like the magic items and like me having misty steps and all these spells because of oath breaking, and then eventually becoming yeah, as someone who doesn't play spellcasters traditionally, when I play D&D normally, playing a spellcaster at the end of the game with the illithid part really kind of threw me for a loop. But even building throughout the game, I think like in retrospect, maybe I shouldn't have just played a paladin. Like I honestly feel like I branched too much into fighter, and I could have gone more down paladin, or I could have just like taken the one level in paladin later if I wanted to be a greatsword user or something like that, which we ended up doing. So I think those are some reflections I would have for my characters, that maybe I could have just leaned heavier into the fighter aspect or into the paladin, but I felt pretty middle down the whole playthrough, and I kind of regret doing that a little bit.
Yeah, you hit you hit it right on the head. That's what I was going to ask. So go ahead.
Yeah, I really enjoy playing a cleric. It's if I can play a cleric in any sense of the words, I'm gonna play it. However, I never used spirit guardians in Baldur's Gate before. My first playthrough is also a cleric, but I chose the trickery domain because I like the spells better. Um, but I never used spirit guardians before. Probably my new favorite cleric spell. Oh, that was my MVP of all my spells.
Yeah, for sure.
But everybody likes spiritual weapon.
I also feel like I didn't really smite too much. Like I felt like I could have smited a little more throughout our playthroughs. Like I smited when it mattered, but like
for sure.
there were no like casual smites, you know. And sometimes I was just left with smites that I could have done, and I was like, oh, I could have smited this, you know. So talking about like spells that like didn't get used compared to Faith, who was like, man, we used Spirit Guardians all the time. I felt like I could have smited a lot more. Like I had Crown of Madness since we did the Auntie Ethel fight, and like I got the Oathbreaker spells, never used it. Or I think I tried to use it once, but I like never successfully used it. And like I just felt like some of the spells didn't get utilized throughout the playthrough. So I regret that a little bit too. Like probably could have tried more spells.
You know you can change your class, right? Mid game.
I mean, the game's done now. I don't know.
Well, I was just letting you know.
I was aware we could rebuild the characters, but I was just trying to stay
Okay.
true to like, oh well, I already made this decision, you know.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, as far as playing the wizard, I don't know. I guess there was a part of me, like, probably halfway through when I was playing the wizard, where I was like, do I really want to be a necromancer where I could be something a little bit more useful or like have more utility as far as my subclass's abilities? Whereas like playing the necromancer, I felt like I didn't have a lot of spells that I was like keen to that were necromancy based. Obviously, up until about 2/3 of the way through the game, where it was clear that I was like just summoning like every damn undead creature that exists. And at that point, building the army felt really, really satisfying. Of just having like 6,
You and your
7, 8,
friends?
like different conjured, summoned, and raised creatures to run around for me, and not having to control some of them was actually kind of nice as well. Whereas if I had to control every creature, it might have got tiring after a while. But having them just have their own initiative and then being able to run and just either tank, just like even though they're not really tanking with hit points or AC, they're just like being distraction really. That was pretty nice. As far as my spell selection, it was okay for the most part. It was nice to be able to get scrolls in the game, and I think if I would have been like a sorcerer, there would have been parts where I felt like I would have felt it a little bit more. just not being able to add all of those spells to my spell book. Of course, those subclasses usually have better abilities, but overall, I guess I felt okay. I think by the end, I still could have took a different subclass and still been able to summon most of the stuff that I was able to summon.
Justin?
Yeah, ranger fighter, any regrets?
For me, I started as a rogue, and around halfway through, I found that the rogue really falls off a cliff. Uh, can't really contribute anything out of combat, and in combat, one hit every now and then. It's like neat. Uh, Once I switched to ranger, though, it just felt a lot better.
You could
Just
definitely
having
tell
the
the
spells for out
difference.
of combat. What was that?
You could definitely tell the difference.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just the Gloomstalker first round of combat just felt like very satisfying. Like when we fought the dragon underneath Baldur's Gate, like that just I could feel myself not be useless, and it was a nice change of pace from the beginning of the game.
You were never useless. You always were
Oh.
so good to just die.
Yeah, there was when we were in the shadow area, I felt like my job was to throw one attack around and then to wear the ring for Mason so that way he wouldn't die as fast. I was like a battery.
You remember earlier when I was mentioning that some people didn't heal, you know? Remember that?
You know what?
No, I don't recall this at all.
It was pretty hard to keep people up where you'd go and get them up, and you'd assume, oh, all right, they'll probably use their bonus action to give themselves like a potion of power since I just used all of my turn to get them up. And then they go, what if I go punch the thing that killed me again? Miss and then die.
Damn, you guys were dropping or what?
I will say I think you had some pretty nice range. And by range I mean distance. Lots of distance.
And once I took that ring off, I did not have any more problems.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that ring was.
It did not help you.
Yeah, it was really killing you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Another thing I've taken away from this too is just like in D&D in general is I've never valued my constitution stat, and I think after playing through this I'm like truly starting to understand, like, sometimes you got to pump some like a little bit into that constitution score. I don't think I've ever played a character with a constitution score higher than 15 at any point during any campaign ever. So I think going forward, constitution something to look out for.
Yeah, it's definitely a good stat. It's definitely, I would say it's a middling stat where people usually prioritize other stats over it. And they're like, I need a good dex and stuff like that. And it's like, well, unless you're attacking with your dex, then it's not like really that important. Like dex saves are common, but at the same time, so are con saves. And the things that happen from con saves are usually worse than the things that happen from dex saves. Dex save is like, I dodged a lightning bolt. Con save is like, I didn't die from some poison or something,
Yeah.
Right.
And what is dex actually? Like, if whoever is trying to hit you just constantly rolls a natural 20, like, at that point, dex is doing nothing. Like, just dump it all into con so hopefully you can survive the crits. You know what I'm saying?
No?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think I've been on the receiving end of what you just said. I think I know what that feels like.
Oh, for the streamer or for anybody who views that doesn't know, when DK usually DMs for a number of us throughout the week, and DK just is allergic to rolling anything that's not a nat 20 against the party.
I'm killing it. And when I say by it, I mean the party.
Yeah.
Yeah, so unless anyone else has anything like in particular, I have a few favorite questions to ask, just like maybe we'll think of something here. I have a few other questions, I guess, in my back pocket here, but just like favorite fight? Anyone have like a fight that they really were like, hell yeah? And whether it was one that you were just dominating at, or just one that was like everyone's on the edge of their seat. Like, are we gonna survive this?
I've got a few that I really enjoyed.
Sure.
I think the first main one that I really enjoyed, and I'll do my best to do these in chronological order. The first one is definitely the Auntie Ethel fight. Um, so it was like truly the first time where like using that smite like felt good. It made sense. Uh, and also the ending part for that too, where like the decisions were made and the whole oath breaking happens. There's that whole cut scene, which I don't think any of us knew about at the time. Obviously, we know now, but it was pretty cool to see that all transpire from that. Um, and then I'd say like I felt the most dominant in that like last fight, but obviously that was just like the mind flare abilities are just kind of crazy. You just summon black holes repeatedly, eat some people. They're really really casual like. Yeah, that felt pretty dominant. Um, and then I think the fight that like in the middle of the game, I shouldn't say it was the middle. It was still near the end. But the fight I liked the most was where you and we tried to solo or team up and just take down the that vampire lord just by ourselves without faith in without faith in Justin, and it was quite rough, and it was just a whole episode of us trying our best and not getting anywhere, and then finally getting that felt really good too, just to get that accomplishment.
Hell yeah.
I think my favorite fights I really enjoyed when we were in the Underdark at the Forge with the big mechanized guy and just the playing the game of the floor is lava. I thought that one was really fun. And then I also enjoyed when we were in the submarine, just getting all the peoples out and all the fish
Ooh,
people.
that was a good
It was
one.
a good time for me. Oh, and when we were in Act 2 and just, it was oops all crows. All the birds came and attacked us. They were all like
Okay.
birds, and then you just were like, I'm done with this, and you cast like a fire spell, and then all the birds were dead. It was fun.
Speaking of the big Forge Golem fight, right before that, when we fought all those flaming imps,
I don't want to hear
our
about
lovely
this,
paladin
dog.
Oh my
charged in
God.
and just valiantly sacrificed himself
Oh my
for the good of
God.
the party. That one really sticks out in my mind. I would also say the dragon fight, just because uh, I kind of knew a lot of the things that were going to happen going into this, but I did not know about the undead dragon, so that was pretty awesome. Uh, and then I felt like I was able to actually do things that fight, so that one really stuck out for me.
For me, I liked. So I guess I have like one that really stands out to me for me personally, and then I guess there's two, and then there's a group of fights. So I would say the first one would be when we fought the Githyanki, and I felt like one, a badass like hero for the group because everyone else was dead, and two, I finally figured out how to like play the wizard. I felt like in that moment, like I had to really dial in on exactly what I needed to do in order to make sure we didn't die. Because I don't know if that was our second. It was at least our second, if not our third time doing that fight. So just dialing in on that fight and kind of figuring out on the fly exactly how to use a mixture of like damage and harming spells as well as using utility spells in order to keep myself alive as well as trying to get everyone else kind of alive and just the pressure of that whole fight, as well as the vampire one. That one was a really good one. I don't know if it's all these fights that we just happen to have to do multiple times, but that was another one where it was like trying to figure out exactly how the puzzle was to go in order to accomplish that fight. And then I guess another third fight before I get into a group of fights that I also liked was us fighting Merkel. That was pretty sick,
Oh,
right in the
yeah.
middle of the game, just coming up, and I didn't realize that we were going to be fighting any gods in this game. Or I like I know that Baldur's Gate has a theme around ball, but like I wasn't expecting to have to actually fight gods. So that was cool just to kind of walk up on that whole like kind of situation. And then I would say overall, in no particular one, I don't think I guess stands out. But all the I mean, you guys mentioned some of these, but the ones that kind of had like a puzzle to them. So that would I guess include the vampire fight, but the submarine fight, Auntie Ethel. There's another one that I just thought of, but I can't think of right now. Any of the ones that had like an extra layer to it, where it wasn't just like a really complicated or difficult fight, but there was something else that we had to also be doing at the same time, just made those fights so much better.
I will say, recently tried to do the submarine fight again with a different game with a different group of friends. Our group did significantly better. I think we saved like two people, whereas our group saved like almost everybody, or was it everybody?
It was everybody.
We saved everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what went wrong with my second group, but uh, it just felt so much easier with this group.
Well, I think we went into every fight with like we didn't know what was going to happen, so we would like we would go in trying to just disable whatever we had to, and buffing ourselves usually prior to fights, and then we would have like the first round or maybe even two rounds, and then once that would happen, we would like hold on and try to figure out the best tactical way about how to through each fight. And I think that's pretty much every fight that we had. I think that's how we basically won them. And a lot of the fights, even though they were fairly difficult, I feel like we knocked out most of these fights with one try. I think there's only maybe two or three fights where we had to redo the actual fight because we died. But I feel like most of them we got through just by figuring out the puzzle and working together after a couple of rounds of kind of figuring out what our enemy was and what our tasks were.
Another cool fight, mainly because it's not really a fight. Like you don't ever finish the fight. The very very beginning fight when we fought the guy with the sword. Not a great description. He's holding the flame sword that we end up having command to drop weapon on, and then I pick up, and then we continue on. I just like that little there's a fun little story element there where you can just get this crazy weapon off the start if you're playing a two-handed heavy weapon person.
Yeah, and we did, and not every playthrough does or can do that, but we managed to be able to do such a thing. Speaking on the sword, any magic items that you were super partial to by the end? I would say we had a decent magic items in Act 2, but in Act 3 we really started to pick up a lot of magic items. Was there anything in there that you really liked, or even prior to that maybe you really liked but just wasn't powerful enough that to keep around?
I liked the sword that I pulled from the stone when no one else could. That was pretty
sick.
That made me feel pretty good.
I was pretty partial to the magic items that were giving me Misty Step because I don't think I've had an experience similar to a large creature that just teleports. I don't think I've had an experience like that too often, or if ever playing the game that I can recall at the moment. So thinking of the idea of this giant hulking paladin who's coming, they're a good distance away, and then all of a sudden they're in front of you, just
Oh yeah.
I really like that idea, and all the weapons too that I had throughout the playthrough. There was definitely a group effort to get some of them, but after using all of them, it felt really, really cool. To, like, especially at the end of the game, I believe it was some sword. I think was
Your
really, really cool. I was really partial to the glaive though. Prior the moon glaive, I really liked that weapon. I thought it was cool having the reach with the sentinel feet to actually like swat people down 5 feet away was pretty cool.
Hell yeah.
So I did enjoy that. And then the helmet too. The helmet at the end of the game, uh, not as cool looking as the Grimskull helmet. I really, really liked that helmet. I was hoping I was going to wear that through all the way, and then we got the Baldurin helmet, I believe is
Oh, yep.
the helmet. Which is cool. It's cool it heals you for 2 at the beginning of every turn or something like that, but it just didn't look as cool. So it felt like I was like, which one do I use? The aesthetically pleasing one, or do I use the one that's probably just better? So
How about you, Loot Gnome?
I value all of my treasure equally. I am
Oh,
a dragon, and I love my horde. I
sure.
am such a loot goblin. Um, Obviously the bow we picked up after killing the head of the Watchers, the Seal Watch. That
Oh,
thing was
okay.
crazy, and I felt like it just after switching to Ranger, I felt more useful, and then picking up that bow, I became the Terminator, and it felt really good. Um, Otherwise, for like magic items, I think by the end, uh, Ball's Fanatic probably had an addiction to the speed elixirs because God, did I love those as well. I feel like
Yeah.
the alchemy in this game was something that I it's not talked about a lot, but it just feels good and it's
yeah,
rewarding for somebody who picks up everything.
For
definitely.
sure.
Like every time you'd send me a potion and it would be like Hill Giant Strength or Cloud Giant Strength or even those quickness potions. Like I just felt like my character had that much more edge to them. And like that finishing the game too, like we had the cloud. I think it was Cloud Giant. It might have been Hill Giant, but I think it was Cloud Giant Strength potion on the Illithid. So on top of him already being like this monstrosity when it comes to spellcasting and ranged attacks and everything, I just had the backup option of like, well, no, I just pull out the sword and he's going to town. I thought that was really fun to just have that backup option. So I do think
What did
the alchemy is.
what did that
Uh,
potion change your strength from? Was it like 10 or 12
uh,
or something? Up
yeah,
to
10 or
27?
12 up. Yeah, yeah, just a straight like 15 buff to
Yeah.
the strength score is absolutely ridiculous. And there were times I was using it while I was the paladin too. Um, so yeah, it was the alchemy did. I agree with you. It feels crazy, and I don't think it is talked about enough. I don't know if you used any of those spells, DK, other than the swiftness potion.
I had elixirs that were more tooled for someone who was a spellcaster, like adding +1 and +2 to your spell attack bonus and save DC and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I was going for. I think they're like the elixir of the battle mage. So that's what I kind of try to dial in towards the end of the game, where I was just trying to make sure that my spells hit, or they were hard to resist. As far as magic items, don't think I really had anything that great through a lot of the game. I'm like trying to
We had
even.
You
trouble.
had the eyeball, yeah.
Okay, I did have the eyeball. And sometimes the eyeball didn't work. It was weird, but a lot of when it did work, it was very nice to have the eye. Um, Being able to see creatures that were trying to go invisible and just having them be there and still visible within whatever, like 30 feet or whatever, was super nice to have. Eventually, we took out that wizard in Baldur's Gate proper and acquired their gear. And that staff, I never even used all the abilities on that staff. That staff was insane. Just like all the little abilities that it gave you, all the passive stuff that it gave you, and then it gave me like all these other like I could give myself the burning property or whatever it was, where I start myself on fire, but all of my fire spells do like extra damage and just like all this crazy stuff that I could do. The using I could use cantrips as a bonus action and just like all this other stuff. That wasn't from the staff. That was just from other gear I had. But by the end, I just had this crazy amount of gear. Like I couldn't even use everything. It was just unreasonable. Eventually to a point. But early game, I don't think I carried anything with me really that long. There
I
just
don't think
isn't.
you really needed anything in the early game though. Like
Yeah.
you were already using all your magic abilities the way it was.
Yeah, well, and I don't think there is really that much for a wizard to use. I think I had a staff pretty early on that I think we acquired from the Druid's Grove, and that felt pretty good just to have like the extra bonus. But other than that, I didn't really have like robes or armor or anything like that. I really relied on like mage armor early in the game, and I might have had some gloves and some really weird passive stuff.
I think we had like gloves of protection or something that we found early on. But yeah, I feel like mage magic items early were not huge.
Yeah,
The others.
It was very limited. Clearly, obviously in Baldur's Gate where there are actual wizards and stuff like that, it was easier to obtain. But prior to that, it didn't really have much. How about, so again, some of you have played the game, outside of us playing, but let's keep this topic to, it doesn't have to be to our game playthrough, but at least things we saw in our game playthrough, and that would be surprises, and I would say mostly like within the storyline or within a certain character, of things that you just weren't expecting to be there or to happen.
Oh, I guess obviously there's that Oathbreaker thing, right? And seeing the cutscenes super cool. I didn't expect there to be a cutscene. I didn't think that like I've prior to this, I don't know if anyone knows, I've never played a paladin. I normally favorite class is monk. I normally play a lot of monk stuff, do a lot of that. So playing the paladin was like my reach out into. I'll dabble in like very very little spell casting, and so seeing the oath breaking part, learning about that was cool. Um, Although I will say I was expecting the Oathbreaker Knight like to do more than what he did. Not my character, but the actual like guy that comes to the camp. And he really he doesn't serve too much of a purpose after like that super super badass cutscene where he pops in. He's like, "You break your oath, you blah blah blah." Then he's just like, "Do you want to go back? Do you not want to go back?" Like he doesn't do anything after that. He's just there. He like allows you to revert. It's kind of underwhelming, I'll say. So, a little let down there.
I guess I was surprised to learn that if you don't like interact with the NPCs as much as you would in like a solo playthrough or maybe a playthrough with just two players, they sometimes you just don't get their ending. Like it's just like, oh, there's a guy you used to hang out with. Yeah, he sells grapes now or something. Like I don't care. Like you don't get to see how the rest of their life plays out, which I mean, it makes perfect sense why the game did that, but it was strange to me.
Yeah, they should leave those more passive, where like you don't have to really interact with them if you don't want to. I mean, if you negatively interact with them, that they would leave and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, the fact that like they would just be like, I mean, they just basically a lot of them just left basically because we didn't like directly tend to them. But it was like we can't bring you along because we have 4 players. So like I think the game in the the developers and stuff like that should have accounted for that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Justin?
Circling back on Mason's Oathbreaker Paladin friend, I feel like the most offensive part of that is bringing in a character that like their armor looks as cool as his does, and then not letting you get it in some way.
Yeah,
that hurts.
That's fair.
Yeah, I will say that was some of the sickest armor I saw throughout the whole game, and nothing.
I wish, but I think it's like for me, it's like the little thing. So like when I ran into the monster hunter and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm hunting down Asterion." I'm like, "Oh, this could be like a funny goof when we get back to camp." And then we get back at camp and Asterion's just gone. I'm like, "Oh,
Real puddle of blood.
oh, that feels bad." Um,
Uh, I know this was Faith's thing, but I was surprised that they'll just let you kill yourself with Asterion. I thought that was wild. Where just like he can just accidentally, or I guess not accidentally, but like he just sucks you dry, for lack of a better term. It's like kind of surprising to me that they just give you that option.
I also didn't know that. It was because I failed. You know what? You know what it was, Mason? I failed a con save.
There you
Hey,
go.
God.
Yeah, con stat.
There's
Yeah.
a concept.
But yeah, it was wild. Like they just give you the like death by almost snoo ending, and it's a little weird. A little weird. Didn't think that was something that would pop up.
For me personally, I don't know if I was really surprised. I mean, I guess I was simultaneously not surprised by much, but also surprised by everything that was happening. Um, just like I know a lot of the lore, so it was kind of crazy for the game to really be based on. I mean, it's obviously based in the Forgotten Realms, right? And so that part was weird enough just to know so much. It's obviously Baldur's Gate game, so whatever. But then, like, just me knowing things was surprising to me. Just like the Githyanki and the Illithid, like that is some of the lore that I like have read the most about. So it was crazy to see how they integrated that with the Dead 3, because they have no reason to be interconnected in lore purposes, um, for any reason, other than like obviously what we just saw them do, which I mean I guess makes sense, but also doesn't really make any sense. Um, we didn't get to see a lot of the NPCs, in like their endings, so I wasn't able to really, get anything from them. But I also, I guess, was surprised that they would just like leave at the most minor thing. Asterion, I understood, but then it was like Shadowheart was like mad that we didn't take her with, so she leaves, and it's like, mm, why? Like,
I mean,
meh.
as a like from the writer perspective, I kind of get it in like that's like her whole thing, and it's like the one main part to her that she's following this religion or whatever, and you're just not allowing her to do that thing. It's almost like if someone was like standing in your way of your dream and they just go, no, you can't because we're already doing it, you know. So like I get it a little bit, but I think overall it is a little disheartening, you know.
For sure. And then I think the big plot twist that's like thrown in everyone's face, and no one said it here, but I have to assume everyone was surprised by the fact that the dream person or the guardian, was actually an Illithid. That was a little wild. Um, Obviously, the guardian wasn't going to be just this guardian, but I didn't think it was going to be an Illithid. I assumed it was like a deity or some demigod or something like that, and they were going to be like, I'm the son of such and such, or I'm, you know, uh, whatever, one of these deities that's like trying to help and protect us. But for it to be an Illithid, was a little wild. And then for it to be, spoilers if you're watching us,
Yeah.
Baldurin, that was even crazier. And I was like, okay, like they just keep throwing it at you with this guy. So for that whole little storyline, that was just surprising in general to me, because I usually when I watch movies, I can call things out and I know like kind of like the plot line or like what we're gonna get into a little bit. But I had just no clue that's who that was on both accounts, on the first and then the second as well, which kind of threw me for a little loop. But it was excellent writing. I really liked that.
And
completely
the cool I mean I was surprised about those things, but also the like the worm underneath being dead as well, and like that also being a direct tie-in. That I found that to be like another cool surprise of like, yeah, actually they're friends, but they killed each other, and they're actually not friends, and
Right.
now you got to do it again. And you're like, wow, oh okay. So, a lot of that. Another I don't know if anyone else found this surprising, but just like the amount of and maybe I should have seen it coming, but just the straight up amount of things that were shown in the game too, like I just wasn't expecting. I don't think I fully came in with that open of a mind of like, oh man, we're playing a game where like there could be just a complete gore fest in one room, and then the other room it's just like a naked person, and just not
Yes.
something that was like on my radar. So
For
just
sure.
the
Both at
premise
the
of the
same time.
game. Yeah. And sometimes they were in the same thing happening, there was just like blood all over and someone was naked and you're like, why is this going on?
There was
So-
that brothel we walked into when we first got to Act 3.
Yep.
And the person turns into a mind flayer, which for some reason the employee there was super into. DK swooped in and stole my moment.
Sorry.
Never forget.
Sorry.
Are
Yeah,
Ooh,
I guess a little bit, but yeah, some of the stuff that was rated R was really definitely rated M for mature looking asses, and it was really out there. If you haven't, and I did obviously because I wanted it to happen, but I went in romanced Minthara in my own playthrough. If you haven't seen the romance cutscene with her, it's intense.
Yeah, I haven't. I don't know if I'm going to. I did end up going and looking through the Shadowheart one because I was a little disappointed. I was like, what did I miss out on? It's something. One of them, you're because there's two actually. If you didn't know, it does split. So like each character gets three, but Shadowhearts is one, and then splits from there. So there are the other two. So you get one and two. There's no like middle branch like there are for some characters. So like Karlach has 1, 2, and 3. And so looking at hers, like one of them's really weird and one's cool. It makes a little bit more sense. If anyone wants to look at that one while they're looking at the whole Minthara issue.
I would just say it. It was wild.
I was gonna say something else, but
Someone really put some thought
forgot.
into the game when they were putting out these scenes. Someone was really doing their research. That's all I'll say.
I guess that's fair.
How
there was
about
something-
NPCs?
what else was
Speaking on these
displayed.
NPCs and like things that were happening, did anyone have a favorite NPC? This could be someone. I guess we can do NPC that was outside of camp, and then maybe a camp dweller that you really liked. We had a couple of random camp dwellers. We had this kid that stayed in our camp for a long time. That was really weird. But yeah, go ahead.
My favorite NPC has a. I mean, he stayed in camp a little bit, but mostly he's outside of camp. I've always loved Volo. He's so funny and so weird. He's just a cool guy. And then my favorite, I'm gonna count it as a camp dwelling NPC, other than Halson, who is just he's a lot. My favorite one was Shovel. I mean,
Oh my
he's
god.
just he was so good, and like he provided an extra body, and I mean, he gave us gems like it's fisting time. Are you kidding?
It's
The
fisting time.
gold.
Hell yeah, that
We
was
get that on a
freaking-
T-shirt.
We should. We're all getting it's fisting time tramp stamps.
Whoa!
I don't know
I
about the
want
tramp stamp.
Official
Yeah, not a
nerd
tramp
culture
stamp.
shirts.
Nerd culture.
Okay.
Are we talking about nerd culture? Nerd culture? Crazy.
You heard it here first. It's fisting time. Nerd culture T-shirts coming to you May 14th.
Dang, that's sick. I didn't even know that was happening. That's crazy.
I didn't know either. I'm just
Well, you
I
better
got a
get
week.
them out.
Yeah, I got a
Wait.
week. I got a week now.
What about you, DK? I'm curious to hear what yours were.
favorite NPC. Yeesh, there was so many that were like pretty good. I'm gonna say one, and then I'm gonna think of another one that I really liked. As far as camp dwellers, they were okay. Volo is always like a little like curious guy, so he's cool. My vibe usually is like a Withers type character, but he's kind of dry, no pun intended. Um, I guess maybe it was Withers. I liked how he came in at the end, like after the fact. That was pretty cool. I did not expect that at all, to happen there. Oh boy, an NPC that was outside of camp. And inside camp, I did like Karlach too. Um, I ended up sort of romancing her, or slightly, I guess, romancing her near the end, or at least we became good friends or whatever. Um, but generally, I think she has some of the better lines of dialogue and just an attitude that I could get behind, at least in our playthrough. Um, damn, outside of I don't know. Let me think on
You
it. How
liked
about
the
you, Justin?
people.
What's that?
You liked the mushroom people. You vibed with them.
Mm.
I did vibe with those mushroom people, but again, they were like more dry though. Like the sovereign was like, oh, like he was like
Yeah.
really like just like really straightforward and really dry, and he didn't really have anything about him other than like protecting the people. I guess another person in camp would have been, and I guess outside of camp is, oh, geez, what's her name now? The devil lady,
Mizora?
Oh,
Mizora. Yeah, she was super sick. I didn't like her near the beginning of the game. I liked her in like she was like putting it out there, pretty like good looking for a CGI animated devil lady. But then like closer, like like over halfway through the end, she like actually turned out to be like kind of cool, and like her character development like changed a little bit once we like saved her and stuff like that. So that was pretty nice. Um, Again, that's another camp dweller though, so I don't know if you really count that as someone outside. I'll think of someone outside. Justin, you have any?
Yep. For outside of the camp, the obvious answer is the Emperor.
Okay, sure.
Being the anti-Gith because they are awful. He's just automatically number one. Inside of camp, I would say probably Halzen. I'm sad we didn't finish up the like shadow area stuff, so we could get him to stay with us. But
Hmm.
as a follower, he was just cool, and we never got to see the bear sex scene. So uh,
the what?
Oh,
the
you
bear
heard.
sex scene.
There's a bear
Oh.
section.
Oh boy.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Bow chicka naked bear.
Oh wow.
So,
um,
um,
yeah. So as far as no, I got my outside of camp people. So I got two people. So as far as like the villains, um, I can't remember anyone's names. The dude, um, that was of Bane, he was like okay, but Orin was actually like a decent villain. It's hard to make a villain that's good. That's like just a straight up like like psychopath. We only probably have like maybe one or two in all of like real life pop culture that's actually stand out, and I can only name one off the top of my head now. But to have one
Which
in
one?
game that it would be the Joker.
Okay, cool. We were thinking of the same person. I just
Okay.
wanted to be sure.
Sure.
just one of the best villains of all time. I don't even think we have to like. If we're like
Yeah.
just one of the best of all time,
For
probably
sure.
my number one.
But
Make sure we were all on the same page.
but again, there's not another like. Could you name another like straight up psycho or like sociopath character that's like has that type of mentality, um, like like the Joker and or Orin, that kind of stands out. And I felt like Orin had like she didn't have that much depth, but she had enough like kind of just antagonizing you in order to like create that like a sense of having a character. It wasn't like she just kept leaving these letters, which she did, that did antagonize us. But every once in a while, she would just show up and say some, some sassy ass shit, and then just be like, boom, gone. Like, come find me. You know where I'm at, basically. When we got to where the fight was actually a little disappointing because we cleared it in like 2 or 3 rounds. Again, at this point, we've basically just mastered how to be tactical with one another. But as far as her character, it was pretty decent. And now I forgot the other character that I was going to mention, but she was okay as far as like a villain was. Oh,
So-
the other character. Sorry, the other character was no, that wasn't it. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm sure some people have guesses, and we're gonna guess that my favorite character in the camp is Shadowheart, um, which actually isn't true. I didn't actually like the so a large. I have a large Magic background, and the only thing I knew about Karlach was that she gave you an extra combat phase in Magic. That's all I knew going into this. I had no other knowledge of it, and like everyone had shown me the headshot of like Karlach, and they were like, "Yeah, Karlach," and I just wasn't getting it until like we started playing the game, and then I saw this rippling muscle mommy, and I was like, "Oh my, oh what a woman!" That's so definitely it's Karlach. It's 100% Karlach. But from like a non-romanceable standpoint, my favorite character inside the camp was the little girl that antagonizes Withers. Just the entire
Oh,
time, she has
yeah.
no other purpose. She's like, "Why are you so dry?" and just says random shit. So that's my favorite. And
Hell yeah.
then I, I, this is actually another one of mine. I don't think I have an outside of the camp like favorite character that I can like really say like I really enjoyed this one because I just like I wasn't paying attention to some of them too often. Like there was the main three, but that was kind of whatever. I think Orpheus is kind of cool. This idea of like
That's
he's
what I was gonna
enslaved
say.
and you don't meet him till the late game, so you have like a very limited time to develop that story, and you're like, is he not? And it's kind of like mostly told through Lae'zel till you get up to breaking him out, and then you can kind of get that split. But I think I'd probably say him just because I didn't pay attention to too much other than him for the outside of camp characters.
Well, and I think the other character I was trying to think of was Orpheus as well. I am a huge Gith fan, but I also think like just the way he came about the situation at the end, where he was just like, whatever, And I know this guy over here is going to have a different say about the situation, but we were kind of tainted on the view because of someone telling us a certain point of view that they had about the situation. So we were just like automatically like, no, we can't let that happen. But then once we were kind of put into a position that was like an ultimatum, and the ultimatum was like a little strange, it felt like. And we were just like, well, we'll just take our chances with this guy that we don't know anything about because this other guy's being like weird to us at this point. And he ended up just being like super cool and just being like exactly the guy that like he was just the guy at that point where it was just like, yep, I'm just gonna be a badass out here. We're just gonna shut this shit down, and then we'll part ways after that, and I'm good. And I'm gonna go kick the ass of the evil people that are my own shit. Nothing you got to worry about. We're just gonna end this shit here. And I thought that was super sick. Bias and all.
For sure. Yeah, I will say, when you do break him out the first time, I get why he's abrasive. It makes sense. Like all of that, 100% story wise, love it. I just like when you first meet him, he is just kind of like he pops out across. He's like "fuck you," and then you're like "whoa, whoa, 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 whoa." Let's be reasonable here, just because he's got the whole parasite hatred thing. But like after those first 5 seconds, where he's just like really, really mad that you're almost a mind flare, then everything's cool. I'm surprised Justin doesn't have anything.
Yeah,
feel like-
I was expecting the backfire for sure.
Yeah.
There's this little saying: if you've nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. So,
Oh, sure. Sure.
no, Orpheus did not suck as bad as I thought he was. I thought it would be some crap for like he for sure was going to turn to you at some point because he ain't working with no damn dirty mind flayer, but
Sure.
did not end up happening. He, yeah, did not suck as much as I thought he would.
That's fair.
That is fair. I don't have too many questions left. I guess I'm just wondering how people felt about the ending. Um, really, I guess Faith and Justin didn't really have huge, huge part in what happened in the end. And we only really had the one NPC, which I kind of led the kind of the story or the situation on that, as far as Karlak goes. And then Mason kind of had his whole situation with being the Mind Flayer and kind of figuring that out. So I guess I'd rather hear from you guys there on the bottom, Faith and Justin, first on exactly how you felt about the ending, not just about the decisions that maybe we, kind of ended on, but how kind of we ended the game in general. If you think we fought the correct villains in the correct order, and then the fight at the end we mastered the tactical advantage of our group. Like nearing the third act within like the last 10 episodes or so. So that was pretty good. But how did you feel about the ending that we came to?
I thought it was kind of odd that essentially, like, your character and Mason's character got endings, and then Justin's and my character didn't. I just thought that was strange, considering that we had a 4-player game going on. That the game was like, yes, these two, because you chose the Mind Flayer thing, and they didn't let the rest of us choose the Mind Flayer thing. I would have loved to become an Illithid. I was all for that. You were the one hosting it, so it would make sense. And you're the one who put in the most time with Karlak. But I thought it was strange that the game didn't give an ending to either of us per se, or any like wrap up the story. It was like the game didn't care. But the way that we went about and fought things versus how I did things on my own, it was like I was trying to punish myself and play on hard mode or something, because I did not do things in the order that we did things, and I struggled so much. Like, there were so many fights that I had to do, like, I'm gonna sound shameful here, like 40 plus times, and that's even after looking up like YouTube tutorials. How do I cheese this fight? Like, it was bad. And then we get in one, and I'm like, oh god, guys, this fight's really hard. And you're like, oh well, he's dead, so I don't know. So I thought that was really cool. It was fun playing with like a group of competent people and not me and just all of the attractive NPCs that are actually squishy as hell.
Justin?
The fact that we didn't have endings. I don't know if like you have to tie yourself to one of the main characters to have like an ending. Obviously, the fact that Mason's character, out of shame from losing all of our free for alls, committed Sudoku at the end. Can't complain about that. I wonder if you live as the Illithid, like if it goes on more, if there's like more potential story there. So that'd be an interesting thing to see in like a future like playthrough maybe. But as far as like Ball's fanatic, well, Orin's dead, and we murdered the cult of Ball, so we have a new priest.
Sure.
Church is in session.
Mason, you had a big part towards the end there. So I'll give my 2 cents after you, but I do want to say that I did also think it was a little weird that only one of us got to choose, being the Illithid or even the half Illithid, which I took about, it was probably like halfway through the game or within Act 2, that no one else could choose that. Clearly, the game isn't set up to be played by 4 people. That's pretty clear as far as like the way our game ended up, generally ending and being there at the end. But I guess I'll let you go on before I continue any rants or feels about the end there.
It's, you could have ranted all you want, and I don't think it's gonna. I think it's gonna change what I have to say. I, yeah, obviously you choose the Illithid and you get the ending. Um, I don't. I don't think I'm happy with how it ended. And I think that's just from a like, you're kind of like as a first time player put on the spot if you choose to become the Illithid in this scenario of like, well, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like, I don't have the background knowledge of, man, is there a possibility to be a good Illithid? Like, clearly we've seen examples with like there was the Emperor and he was trying to do the right thing, but overall he like in at least the way we played, he kind of became a pawn in the end anyway. So it was really weird to like have to make that decision without knowing anything. They just like upfront it. I think I probably, had I not been put on like that, like on the spot right there, like I had the hindsight now, I probably would have chose to live it out. But if something goes wrong, kind of axe it. But like on the spot, like not knowing anything else, I think even if it were like a real life scenario, I think that's probably the choice I would have made if it's an on the spot decision. And I just like with the hindsight looking at it, I wish like they would give you just a little bit more to know like, hey, these are like what might happen given what you've seen play out throughout the game, and maybe that's what they're banking on. I am also disappointed in the same way that I couldn't become like a half Illithid like you, because I think it's cool to be the half Illithid, like it, but also from that gameplay standpoint, imagine if we did have 4 half Illithids. I think it makes the game just a little too easy. You're probably just playing on easy mode. Same thing if we all become the Illithid. Going into the cutscene too, with like the hammer. I know I ended up getting the hammer from Raphael to break Orpheus out. But I feel a little bad for like, obviously this is your playthrough that we're streaming, so I feel a little bad for taking the whole Illithid thing, and it not being like on a center screen for everyone else to see everything that's going. So I feel a little bit bad about that, because the viewers may not have seen everything that's happening with like the controls and whatnot, because at the end that bar is huge, dude. There's so many buttons to click. It's honestly a little intimidating trying to operate all those, and that's why you just saw me black hole everything, is because like I saw it work and I was like, that's good. That'll be the sauce for the rest of the time. And then like you get to the end, you make that choice, you off yourself. You don't get to, and you can see this at the end of the game, and I don't think I have a spoiler warning, you've made plenty of those. You're just this ball of energy, and they say that there's this lack of like a person there, and then you're just a gust of wind. Like, it feels so like whatever. But also playing in that scenario, I feel like it was the right decision for the character, even though he did like break the oath. His romance attempt at Shadowheart didn't go well. Like, what more did he really have to live out this Illithid life, So I think like me putting my personal ideas aside and having it hindsight, like in the moment for the character, right decision 100% of the time. Especially because he breaks the oath. Maybe it's a redemption, maybe it's not, but who really cares? You saved your people. Do the thing. So that's right. That's where I think I'm at with everything.
All right. So I don't think I would have taken the full Illithid. So I'm kind of glad you did. I did tune in to most of your conversations and try to tune into most of everyone's conversations that they were having. At least when they were having it with like, relevant people. Obviously, I didn't tune into shopkeeping or anything like that. But so I don't think I would have done that part. The half Illithid I felt was like enough for me. And then another thing also that you said was the game isn't prepared for us to all be half Illithids, but I also don't think it was prepared for us to have a half and a full Illithid at the same time. Not that I was given a lot of abilities. I had just like a few, maybe like 2 or 3. So there's that. As far as the ending of the game, so as far as Faith and Justin's characters, I did find it a little weird that you didn't get any kind of ending, or like, they should have. What I think they should have did is the same thing that they would do is if you were playing a single player game and you didn't make any of the connections with any of the NPCs and you didn't take any of the Illithid powers, I have to assume there's some kind of ending to the game where that happens. Like there has to be something written in the game. So they should have gave you that option on like what your character did next. Because it did feel a little bad when only we had the ending like selections and dialogue screens, and then the two of you didn't. Would that have been different if you did talk to one of the NPCs and try to like romance them more? I don't know. I don't even know if me and Karlak were technically romance. We definitely had like a little thing going on, but we didn't make it to like obviously like that level. But I don't know if you two talking to anyone would have changed that, or if it was only just because I was the host of the game. So that part was a little weird. As far as the ending of the game, it would have been maybe nicer to romance her earlier on, or at least get that, part where you're not sure if you're in the friend zone or not in the friend zone, for my character, at least at the end, which it's not a big deal either way, really. But, being friends and like going off, that was pretty cool. I kind of liked the selections that I made for my character in that relationship. Personally, I like that. Just like going off to Avernus, and obviously all of us have played through Descent to Avernus to some point, so we are familiar kind of with that, at least that hypothetical situation. So it was like kind of cool to see my character go off and do that. And then as far as the Illithid, I would have picked the same thing just because I know what Illithids are like, and that again would be probably a Githyanki's bias, where I like the Githyanki and I understand their position against the Illithid. So as an Illithid, I probably would have selected the same thing. So I would say overall, the ending was okay. I would say it's half and half. I was satisfied with the half that we got to see, but also a little disappointed that the two of you didn't get any kind of ending. And then I guess I'm also neutral on the fact that we all meet up again. Like, sorry. That we all meet up again. That was like cool, but also was like, but why would we do this? Like, after whatever 6 months, like a year, why would our characters all meet up at a random camp and with all of these other characters? And I get it's like an after the game thing, and I'm sure we could have went back into Baldur's Gate and did like some of the unrelated mini quests, and maybe we can't, and I'm just spitballing ideas here that have no bearing at all. But I'm also okay with us just rolling the credits and just being done with the game. It's especially one that's so story based. Like this isn't, I don't know, Grand Theft Auto or something like that, where it's like you roll the credits and then it's like you can still just mess around and stuff. It's like, but why? Like we don't need to anymore. We're done with the game. I'd rather just restart a new game and make different decisions about the game as I play through it. So that part of the ending felt a little weird. We didn't really explore or adventure outside of the camp. That we just kind of talked to Withers for like 2 minutes and then kind of just ended our stream. And maybe I'll go back and I'll just see just on my own kind of if you can leave camp or what you can do. Or if one of you know, then you could certainly pipe up and let me know, and let anyone else know. But yeah, I would say on a scale of 100, I felt it was about 70. I'll say a 70. It was pretty good for the parts that were that were good and conclusive. The two of you didn't get an ending. That felt weird. And then going back and us all re-meeting up also felt weird. It was like Karlak made a life-changing decision, a life-saving decision, and then we came back to the material plane anyway. It didn't seem like it mattered, that our ending mattered at all.
For Karlak, I think it's not that she can't like leave the Hells. It's that she can't stay gone, right? Like she
Yeah.
wants to move back to Baldur's Gate and make it her home. But if
Sure.
she stays away from Avernus for too long, her heart will just die. And the more I think about us not having endings, I mean, it kind of makes sense. The reason why all the other characters have endings, because like they exist within the Forgotten Realms, whereas ours are just like our ending is whatever our headcanon is, right? Like,
Sure, sure. But they should have. I think they still should have like given you some choices. Been like, does your just give us a couple of dialogue boxes. Does your character settle down, or do they continue to adventure? Do they travel, with such and such other character, or like what happens to them afterwards? Not just like fucking write you off and you get nothing. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you have like all these mystical, magical items and all these powers. It's like, well,
Yeah, you
what
just
happened?
defeated another brain, and now you're just a no one again. Like,
Yeah, it's like okay. Yeah, are you celebrated throughout town? Do the people like and maybe the game needs to keep track of like some of your merits and some of the things that you're doing that are good or evil, and like do people build statues of you in the middle of town, or are people afraid of you when you show up? Things like that, and it's just like they could have just give you like 4 or 5 dialogue boxes and a couple of choices to kind of give you a little cutscene at the end. I think it would have been sufficient. It didn't have to be anything crazy, but come on.
so I was while you guys were talking, I was digging in my brain because there was something that disappointed me, and I forgot what it was until just now. I don't know if anyone here has played Baldur's Gate 2. I've not played Baldur's Gate 2, but I have a favorite character from Baldur's Gate 2 that doesn't appear in 3 that I, again, only know because of magic, because I was like, why is this card in the Baldur's Gate set? It's Wilson, the grizzly bear. He's not in Baldur's Gate 3, and I just really wanted to be in Baldur's Gate 3. There's no relation whatsoever. I'm just disappointed because he's like a very middling, like kind of bad magic card. But I just thought it was funny that there's just this random legendary grizzly bear in the set. And then I did some research on him. He's from Baldur's Gate 2, but he's not in 3. So I was just a little upset there. So there's no way the game developers hear this, but if they do put Wilson in the game, put him in every Baldur's Gate game.
They carried over a lot of the characters from the earlier games. The guy that we fought in the ball, like the ball people that we fought, the first group of ball people that we fought, that was one of the villains from one of the Baldur's Gate games. Minsk and Boo are obviously from the Baldur's Gate games. There was a few people that were from the other games that we had come across.
did you hear
Wilson,
was she in the previous ones?
What's that?
I don't know if Nahira was.
Interesting.
I don't know.
I mean they carried them over, but they didn't carry over the most important one, Wilson, grizzly bear. Very important.
Sure, yeah. Jahira, you said? Yeah, she's in.
Yeah.
I just googled it.
Oh
real
yeah,
quick.
isn't
She's
she
in-
like the main person in the Underdark? Isn't that like the elf lady?
The Harper? No, not Harper's.
Harper's.
No.
It is
Yeah.
Harper's.
Yeah, she literally has a main story point at the Act 2, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Isn't
Yep.
she like
Yeah.
Ranger lady? Yeah.
She can join your party too, but I think she died for Hush.
She's a druid.
Yeah. She can't join your party. She's one of
I
one
don't-
of the few.
I don't think she
she's
died.
she's one of those not main NPCs that can be recruited to your party.
I think it's like Halsin, Jahira, Minsk, and Boo.
Minthara.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dame Aelin and the other lady. I can't think of her name, but
I guess
Is-
the
Isabel?
lesbian. They were lovely.
yeah. Oh, wonderful.
I'm sorry.
I'm mad you
very
can't
good
romance those
friends.
characters either. I should be able to romance both of them. I don't care about anything. I want both of them.
I did like them at the camp as well. At first, I wasn't really sure about them, but then I did eventually like them. Um, their
I
little
will
kind of
say,
storyline was interesting.
yeah. So about their storyline, like obviously they have their whatever kind of happens, right? But we did the Dame Aelin thing, right? And we fight that wizard that got you the staff and the cloak, right? And she's part of that. But I don't feel like there's enough follow up, and maybe it was just because we didn't do the follow up or something. But I was left a little wanting a little more with that. Like
Oh,
she
well,
has this memory fog, and we just never revisit it or anything. She just kind of appears again, and then they're not there, before the final fight.
yeah, and then we also have like the quest marker hovering. It was hovering on us for so long. I think throughout like all of Act Two, once we got to Act Three, I think it finally fell off, but it was on us for so long. It was like, well, like obviously we're not doing that because, like, we're not
Yeah.
gonna. I don't even remember. We were supposed to give it to someone or something like that. It's like obviously we're not gonna do that, so you can like lay off the fucking quest marker. But yeah, it was a little weird for a little bit. Eventually got cleared up, and they kind of fully joined our camp, and that was kind of cool. But yeah, it was a little strange. Yeah, it just kind of got left hanging. But I feel like some of that was our doing. Like we didn't investigate everyone's little everything, you know. So eventually we ended up with a lot of characters that have like halfway done stories. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to do Carlax. I was like, we got to do at least one of these people's, um, side quests and stuff like that. And hers seemed like it was the most like honestly easiest, where it was just like we could just kind of do this quickly, and
Whoa.
we didn't have to go do, um, we didn't have to go to some other super far location, fight this other new boss or whatever.
Astari been so easy because we were already there. If someone didn't drive him away,
No, he was there. I don't know, Faith. I don't know if you saw this. He was there, and then I killed him like twice.
yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say
I remember
again.
that part.
Yeah, I remember him. He was in the final fight. I think he was a little bit of dust on Mason's boots, actually.
No, I don't believe that's true because I'm pretty sure those boots were sparkly clean, sparkling. So
Well, we're just
Alright, never
about
mind.
to our
He was
time
there.
here. So, is there anything that you guys want to add or ask? I've asked pretty much all the questions. So, if you guys had anything on your mind about the game or about our playthrough in particular, this would be now the time to say so.
I've got a question, but I'm gonna leave it to be the very last question. So if anyone else wants to get some questions in there, or if we're just ready to go for this big end question right now.
I have a question. If you guys were to do another playthrough, is there something that you really want to try? Because there's definitely something for me.
Oh, 100%. It's romancing Karlak to the like full all three scenes. I need every single point, dog. I don't think you understand. I went from not being a Karlak nowhere to like I'm a full team Karlak,
I
100%
told
all
you.
the time, no questions asked.
I
Dog,
told
you should have just told me. You should have just told me that it was the most Rhea Ripley equivalent there was, dog. I would have melted at that point. I've been like, oh, hands down.
It is
Minthara,
actually
Karlak.
Tiefling Rhea Ripley.
It's just that's it. That's my answer.
Overall, I'd like to try a different class, and then I'd like to do the Dark Urge. And again, I think I said it earlier, but I'd want to play an evil playthrough. I don't need to be like sadistic or anything like that, or just murder hoboing, but just like doing the options that the game gives you, that are just obviously the evil suggestions. Clearly the first one is like killing the druids in the grove and things like that, where you're just like doing everything that the evil characters want you to do, but then still kind of following through and being kind of the anti-hero in that situation or in the game. I guess that would be the thing that I would want to try. I have a hard time not playing super spellcasty characters, so that would be something I would have to try to get around. But that's also just a play style of mine. Um, Also trying to get all of the NPCs or as many as I can within one playthrough, just to have their dialogues would be pretty cool.
Faith?
Um, I mean, I've either attempted or done most of the things that I wanted to do with the game. I think I would like. I guess what I would like to do is I don't think they're doing any other updates to the Baldur's Gate 3, but I wish they would add in more species to play as. I love playing as a fae character, and I can't be a little fairy, and that's all I want.
Have you looked into the modding at all?
I don't like mods. I don't. I bought the thing. I want the thing to be fine as it is, and everything else is nice, but I am not taking the time to do that.
I did think of the other thing. Would have been cool to see like what happens if you dominate the world. Maybe I'll do that in my next one, where you're just like you play the whole way through, you're really really good, and then you get to the end, and you're like, and I control the world now. You're just like boom, just full 180 on them. But
Hell yeah!
God,
still, Team Karlak, 100%, the number one goal right there. All right. Well, if no one else has any other questions, then we're ready for the big question. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
The big question is, DK,
Oh, boy.
what's next?
Oh no! Oh no! As soon as you said my name, I knew it.
Yeah.
I don't know currently. Um, we're still kind of discussing that and trying to figure out if we're all gonna play a game together again, or if we're not, and kind of what the schedules look like going forward here. We are coming into summer again. Not that we didn't play through one summer, but just trying to line everything up and make sure everything's good to go. With all that being said, I don't know. We're looking at games that are similar, and that would be cool. But I'm also really into trying something that's drastically different. Obviously, we still want to try to do something that is like 4 players. If 3 to 6 players or something like that, wherever we can land within there. 4 players, I feel like is kind of ideal. But not too sure. We considered the other Larian games, specifically Divinity Original Sin 2, which would be cool to play because I haven't played through the full game, but I'm also okay playing something that's different. And there was another game that I had mentioned, but I can't think of what it was. The Star Wars MMO. That would be something a little bit different, but I guess kind of similar. But to be honest, I don't know at this point. Still kind of just looking around.
Maybe someone who's been watching the whole thing and wants to comment down below. Maybe they have ideas.
Yeah, that would be cool. I'm definitely willing to check out, any game and kind of look at different games to play. As long as it's something we can all acquire. So probably something on Steam is probably the easiest for us to do. But yeah, there's so many options. So I guess there's not that many options because they stopped making so many co-op player games. But yeah, we can definitely. What's that?
Nerds don't have friends. We don't have people to play with.
Well, they dialed everything into story-based one-player games or MMOs, so it's like, ugh, where's my Fallout game with friends,
In Fallout 76?
Oh, dog, please don't. That's
I
not
said
a-
with
Actually-
not a-
just
no.
with my friends though. I don't want to play the MMO.
I've
Yeah.
heard that Fallout 76 is much better now.
Yeah, I've also heard
Don't
that,
care.
but you can also just randomly be gutted by someone. So
That's very true.
Tried it, just got griefed. Awful, awful time.
but if that's our last question, then we're gonna wrap up this roundtable. Any last thoughts, comments, or questions from the group?
Yeah, I
It's-
mean it's just been a pleasure being here, even if this is the last one. Hopefully not. But I don't know, I've enjoyed the time. I know I really look forward to dedicating the time on Wednesdays. As much bickering as there was to being with these other three goons and sitting down and playing a game, and whether people were here or not watching, providing some sort of entertainment to anyone who was willing to tune in for any amount of time. So,
Absolutely.
It's been fun.
It's fisting time.
All right. On that note, we'll end the round table here. In a few weeks, we will most likely make some kind of announcement here on exactly what we're going to be playing, what we're going to be doing next. I am going to immediately, I guess not immediately, well, immediately tomorrow, get on top of this shirt, it's fisting time. It's fisting time T-shirt, and that'll be out then for purchase here on nerdculture.shop. But other than that,